Welcome to Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live, a little bit past 3 p.m. Actually, it's right at 3 p.m. I'm on time. Actually, right at 3 p.m. here on the East Coast. Very happy to have you with me. Look, I have a very special guest today. I know you say, Larry, it's Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. You have a Libertarian. I do. But in this case, I have someone who has decided that they want to run for governor of the great state of North Carolina. Libertarian candidate Mike Ross. Mike, how are you, sir?
I'm well, Larry. Thanks so much for having me on, and thanks for coming out and showing us some love in North Carolina at our convention this past weekend as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We have to support each other. So whenever we can, we show up, and it was all good. By the way, great convention. For those of you who were unable to make it, great convention. A lot of people, a lot of love, great speakers, all good stuff. Can't complain. So very good. If you want to see what Mike is doing, you can do something. You can go to his website, firetheuniparty.com. That's FIRE, if you are listening, LTHUNIPARTY. No hyphen, just straight. That's it, .com to see what's going on. And so I have to ask you, Mike, I mean, you've decided of all the things in the Liberty Movement that you could do to help out. And I know you've done stuff in the past too. This is, you're not the first. You've been secretary. You did all kind of other stuff. You've done stuff before in the past. Yep. Why run for governor?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of a combination of a couple of things. One, just being, here in North Carolina for a long time, seeing the UniParty try to polarize us against each other when we get kind of the same garbage policies that are bad for North Carolinians, regardless of who's in charge. So part of it was just getting frustrated. I'm a big fan of local, right? So I
know that, you and I talked about that in North Carolina. You're a local guy. You care about local stuff, but you've stepped up. I mean, this is a big deal. Running for governor of North Carolina, that's not a small task. You've decided to do a big deal. What made you change?
So, I mean, it came down to really three things, right? Being fed up with the system was, I think, kind of the biggest piece, right?
Yep.
Two is that ultimately, if libertarians want to do something, we got to grow, right?
Yes.
So it's a ballot access race for the party, right? So it ensures that our candidates at local levels, there's a couple of different calculations in our state, but there's a number that if I hit
it, helping local even though you're running statewide, you're also helping local.
Yeah, I mean, that's really another goal, right? Is if I can get out there with a good message that's North Carolina forward and talk about the importance of that, my hope is that, in 2025, there's hundreds of people stepping up across their communities to say, hey, if the state government and federal government are going to infringe on our rights and make our lives harder through their bad policy, we can take over at the local level and kind of push back there. So, inspiring that, securing ballot access. And two, at the end of the day, Larry, you've run for election. If you are on the ballot, when somebody steps into that ballot booth next November, if enough of them check that box next to my name and slide it through there, we could get real quick change focused on making the things that matter to North Carolinians better. And, it's probably a long shot. Everyone's like, hey, libertarians never won a governor race before. That's true. That's true. But if we can make it happen and bring real change to North Carolina, is not by focusing on all these things that we want the government to do, but just taking a look at simple things that they already do. Mm-hmm. Stop doing them if they hurt the citizens. Stop doing them if they are not good for North Carolinians. And that's one thing that I think, at the end of the day, when everybody's in the ballot box, if enough people check that box next to my name, we could actually get, the platform that I'm running on that you can see at the website implemented for North Carolinians. And I truly think they'll bring about prosperity for everybody. And that's why I'm running for governor.
But there is something I want to bring up here, which, Libertarian hasn't won a governorship. However, independents have.
Yes.
Right? Jesse Ventura, perfect example of that, right? He did. Yep. He was independent. So I think there is a precedent of a gubernatorial win. If you would have looked at Jesse Ventura's run in his first several months, you would have laughed. Like, you would have been like, there's no way. He's got no shot. And then a year later, the guy's governor of Minnesota. So, it could happen. So I hope it does happen, obviously. But
yeah, it's an uphill battle, but as you said, there's precedent, right? The system is definitely rigged against independence, right? Between the two expected nominees that are declared for the UniParty, you got Josh Stein, who's our current attorney general, and you got Mark Robinson over for the Republicans, who's the current lieutenant governor. they're expecting between $100 to $150 million spent on this race between those two candidates.
A lot of money.
That's a lot of money, a lot of money, which, let's just be honest. I hope all libertarians will help out there. We can't compete on money, but we can compete on ideas and putting forward policy proposals that are actually very libertarian in the solutions. But at the end of the day, they're geared towards Republicans, North Carolina's, all, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, all North Carolinians. And that's kind of the root of why I got to the name, which I know we'll probably talk about. But that's the reason and the goal behind it all.
I love it. Well, you have some friends. Desiree says, North Carolina girl here. She says, Mike for governor. So you got some friends here. Yes.
Thank you so much, Desiree.
This is awesome. Mike, you can win. You got more fans.
Absolutely. It's absolutely something that's possible. It just matters. We got to reach people with a message that resonates well. And that's why, you hit on independence, right? My campaign team is largely libertarians, right? That's the natural base of support of people who would come volunteer and do this. But I'm actually going out of my way to bring in people that consider themselves very conservative Republicans and very progressive Democrats, because at the end of the day, I want the message to be able to resonate with all of them, to see if I can get conservatives and progressives on the same page of how these policies, forget whether your initial gut is they're left or right. Let's look at the policies on their merit and ask, are they good for advancing the interests of North Carolinians? And that's something that I want to be very mindful of and make sure that I'm bringing in those voices. And then also bringing in those independent voices, because that's going to be really the people that will win an election.
Is that why you went down the road, which I was surprised to hear? Not unhappy, just surprised. I've never heard anybody do what you've done with your messaging. You've literally, your website isn't like, Mike for North Carolina or something like that, which is what most people do. You were like, no. Mine is fire the UniParty. I mean, that's a bold way of doing things. Tell me why you went down that road. Is it because getting independence, or is it something else?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a combination of things. One, going back to that fed up with the system. Two, getting the message to the independents, right? Everybody in the North Carolina government at the state level, governor, state legislature, the courts, they're all either Republican or Democrats. Most voters, the largest group of voters in North Carolina is actually the independents, the unaffiliated. They're bigger than registered
That's the biggest one.
Yep. So that was a big part of it. And then the other is actually, just kind of poking the system. Whenever you set up a campaign committee, it turns out you can actually name your campaign committee anything you want. Most choose, Mike Ross for governor. And I thought, I'm really going to go hard on this message of fire the UniParty. So not only is my website fire the UniParty, my registration with the State Board of Elections is also fire the UniParty. So they had to, put it on the official state of North Carolina paperwork and send it out that fire the UniParty is a legitimate political campaign. So
I like that. So far, are people getting it, not getting it? As you bring it up, does it land at the moment, or you have more work to do with branding?
Yeah. So within the circles, right? My core team is very libertarian, and I've got a lot of friends that are all sides of that. At the end of the day, I think we need to be united as a people if we're ever going to have any ability to push back on the corporate interests and all of the things wrong with our government. So in a one-on-one, I've talked to people, that consider themselves very conservative, very progressive, and we find a lot of common ground, right? We're not going to come to 100% consensus on everything. But most conservatives and most progressives probably can't come to 100% consensus with the UniParty platforms either.
Libertarians can't either.
Yeah, no, we can't either. The question is if you can come to terms with most of my platform and really look at it on the merits and say, you know what, I may not like this, but I'm getting this, and this. That's something that I believe in and I think would take North Carolina in a good direction. And my hope is that Republicans, Democrats, Independents will see enough things that their party promises them, but has no intention of delivering to realize, hey, we're going to get all of these things. Yeah, maybe we have some things that are compromises or some things that we may not fully like right now, but that's okay. You're not going to like everything. And if you get much more of what you like and less of what you don't like, and it's really something that we can come to consensus with everybody on it. That's the goal. That's kind of the whole idea behind Fire the UniParty, because I truly believe that they are not working for the best interests of North Carolinians in this state, even though it's not as clear cut at the federal level. right? It's real easy to make the case that it's a uniparty at the federal level. At the state level, they try to differentiate themselves. But when a company like Piedmont Lithium is wanting to use eminent domain to take grandma's last house to put in, that house to put in a pit mine, it doesn't matter whether they have an R or a D in front of their name. That's a big corporation that's going to make big campaign donations, and they're going to do it. From that standpoint, I won't let the government in North Carolina, infringe on the rights of its citizens. That's really the pitch.
If you're liking this, but if you're listening right now, or you're watching right now, or you're listening to the podcast and you're liking his pitch, you can go over to his website right now. It's Fire the UniParty, and the UniParty is UNIPARTY.com. Check it out. If you like what you see there, support him. Support Mike with a donation if you can. Click the donation button. You can give something. Particularly if you live in North Carolina, what are you thinking? Why aren't you doing something, right? Support him in some way. If you can give him some money, that's great. If you can do a monthly donation, if you do that, a little bit, 5, 10, 20 bucks, whatever you can do. That is, that's palm cards for him to hand out, right? That's Facebook ads. That's some signage for him to wave, right? That's all the things that he needs. If you're saying, Larry, I love you, but I can't afford it. I don't have the cash now. No worries. He also needs volunteers. He doesn't only need money. He does need your money. But he doesn't only need your money. He also needs your time. Whether you can give him an hour a week, 2 hours a week, an hour a month, whatever you can. If you can spend some time online, sharing and liking, commenting all of his posts, you can check out all his social media. All those things is great. If you want to do some memes for him, the meme wars are real. So you can do some memes for him, whatever the case may be. You can use your help. Try to support him if you like what you're hearing. I would really appreciate that. So
absolutely.
You do have some fans here, which is great, right? You got Nate. He's yelling liberty and prosperity. So you got some people here. William says, I'm supporting Mike. Got some people here. So you got some friends. But you also want to ask a serious question, which I do want to bring up. And that is, Building Head says, what issues are you prioritizing in your campaign? Do you have a top 2 or 3 that you kind of are at the top of your list for your campaign?
Yeah. So I think I have 4 that are my headline ones on the page, but I'll hit the 3 that are, I guess I'm most passionate about, right? And the reason I'm most passionate about them is because I think that the voters in North Carolina and the people of North Carolina really deserve these policies, right? And the first one's dealing with government transparency. We see it at the federal level. We see it at the state level. We're supposed to be governed by consent, right? But we have, multiple hundred, multiple thousand page bills being rammed through at the federal level. And guess what? It happens at the state level too. And it seems like the UniParty doesn't even care about seeking consent from the governed anymore. They really don't. So my thought process on government transparency is going to be really straightforward. I don't care who's proposing a bill. I don't care what their agenda is. If you want a bill passed in the state of North Carolina, if I'm governor, every single page will require 1 day of public comment. You got a 10-page bill, you got to put it out to the public for 10 days. If it hasn't gone through that period, I don't care what's in it, it's getting vetoed. And the thought process behind that is the smaller the legislation, the easier it is to digest, the harder it is to pack in pork spending, which ultimately, can enable corruption at some level. If you take that out of that and you really put it down to what's this bill trying to do, let the public comment on it, that's at least seeking consent of the governed.
Sure.
It also can block these crazy bills where, you want to put together a 2,000-page bill and pass it. Great. Go ahead and submit it for public comment. And, 2 or 3 legislatures down the line, they can put it they can put it before the governor to sign it.
5 years later, we'll see if it could pass. Great.
Yeah. I mean,
there we go.
The idea of simplifying that and really seeking the consent. So that's one issue. Another big issue I think is really big here in North Carolina. I'm sure the UniParty candidates will put their flavor of trying to address the problem, in my opinion, in a subpar way, and that's education, right?
Okay.
Education is something, as a parent, right? I have a child who I do homeschool. I know that's not for everybody, but at the end of the day, government, in my opinion, should not be dictating anything about the education, not the curriculum, not the structure, not what's there. The best decision makers are the parents, right? So there's a lot of good school choice movements that are out there, and I support that, right? But I really don't think it goes far enough into actually putting the parents, the students, and more importantly, the teachers in control of that. So I'm really thinking through my policy, which is really to let the free market solve these problems and get government kind of out of the way, end the monopoly, right? It's not about trying to get rid of any schools or force any schools, right? Any school that can, can exist and parents want to send their children to, it's a benefit. And this is good for all North Carolinians, right? I'm blessed to be middle class enough that, before I started homeschooling, I sent my kid to a private school, even though I myself went to public school. I looked at it, I said, based on the curriculum, I think this is a better opportunity. The challenge is that there's a lot of North Carolinians who can't afford to do that.
Right.
Yep. However, when you look at it, and I'm an economics guy, right? I'm a financial advisor by trade. I've been in that industry my whole career. And when I look at how much the state is spending on a per student basis for the public school system, in many cases, I'm paying less out of pocket if I were to actually have to pay for that public school directly based on what they charge per student.
You happen to know that number?
So it's in certain counties, it's as high as like 10,000 per student, which I know is nothing. I'm nothing compared to New York. But
come on now, rookie numbers. Got to pump those numbers up. We're almost over 30 now.
Right.
Now.
But the private school I was sending my kid to was like 7, right? You could have taken this kid who might have been a brilliant kid ready for a college preparatory program, but was born in the wrong area code and lives in the wrong area code. So they're getting pigeonholed into this public school system. When if you just enabled the parents to say, you know what, those dollars that you're spending on my child, stop spending them here and spend them over here. And by putting that control into parents, and I think long term, why I really like the idea of letting the free market help education is it not just benefits the parents and students and takes the government out of it, but it really benefits the teachers too, right?
Yeah.
Where so much of this budget is going to people who are not actually in charge of educating the children, layers and layers of bureaucrats. So in this system, say you've got a good teacher who said, you know what, I want to make a better life for myself. I want to take a better role in educating my children. Free market things like micro schools can pop up, right? A teacher could say, hey, I'm going to take these 15 kids and I'm going to take them 6th through 8th grade. Now you're collecting that same amount that the state's paying. The teacher's making more. The kids are getting a more hands-on, closer, better education with the relationship between
the parents
teachers.
Are choosing.
And the parents choose. If you want your school to be pushing some curriculum, go find a school that teaches that curriculum. If you want like a traditional just math, science, English, history, whatever the parents want and think is best, because at the end of the day, school is about helping children turn into young adults and then adults who can be contributing members to society, that they can balance their checkbook, pay their bills, provide for their family, and contribute to society. And that's the place that our system's failing.
Yes.
So
100%. Yes.
That's my thought
with Patty. Patty says, Larry, you always find such likable young people, so smart, well-spoken, and empathetic, understanding. Thank you again for giving me hope. Well, look at that, Mike.
Thank you, Patty. I appreciate that.
Patty also says, I know some North Carolinians and will pass the word on.
Thank you.
There we go. Yes.
Thank you. It's going to take a whole lot of North Carolinians to pull this off. So I appreciate that.
Yes,
truly.
Absolutely. That it's a tough road to hoe, because what you're saying makes sense. But if you're not empathetic, which you clearly are, but if you weren't, then they're not able to connect with you and walk down the road with you. They just go, I'm scared, right? I'm scared. And they don't go anywhere. But if you are empathetic, then they can go down the road with you, right? They can go, okay, he gets it, right? So absolutely. So you talked about transparency and you talked about schools as 2 big choices.
Yeah.
Are those big choices also for North Carolinians right now? Is that like an overlap, or North Carolinians, are they distracted with something else right now and you're going to have to show them the way?
So I think education is a big one, right? There've been some pollings that I've looked at, right? As a candidate, we should be paying attention to those things and seeing what public opinion says. And the 3 biggest issues in North Carolina are the economy, education, and healthcare. Those are the 3. And if you look at my other planks, those are the other issues that I'm touching on, right? Is the economy, healthcare, and then another one that's kind of close to me from my local activism, right? That's kind of what spurred a lot of this. And it's trying to fix the criminal justice system, which is one it's a tough solution, right? That you've got these polarizing views from everything from completely abolish the police to back the blue no matter what, right? And you've got officers shooting unarmed people for no reason, and you've still got people who come out and back the blue. So it's a tough issue to wade into. I think I've tried to navigate that and come to a place that I hope both sides will find, hey, this is actually not a bad policy, and we should look to do this. We'll see if that one ends up being a compromise that everybody likes to, but I think they will.
Well, look, if anyone listening or watching right now wants to check that out, they can do it. They can head over to firetheuniparty.com. That is Fire the Uniparty. Uniparty is UNIPARTY, all one word, .com. And you can see his platform. It's right there. You can read it, check it out. If you like what you see, if you like what you hear, then support Mike to the best of your ability. If that's with money, he could use it. Absolutely. If you're in a spot, what's your maximum that someone can give, Mike? What's the maximum?
Yeah, so the most a person can give in the state of North Carolina is $6,400.
Okay, so Patty, you were about to write a check for $6,600. Don't do it. Don't do it. He's going to get in trouble, right?
Yep.
Don't get him in trouble. No one give more than $6,400. If you can give any money, it's awesome. But actually, if you can just give $6 or $4, that is still good. Every bit counts. Look, we are not, to your point, Mike said it, we're not going to compete at the $150 million point. We're not. But can we get enough to be impactful? Yes, we can. And that's what we're trying to go for. So your 10 or 20 bucks is going to help. And again, I say it all the time, and I'll keep saying it. If you don't have the money and you have the time matters too. If you happen to live in North Carolina, Mike does door knocking. You can go with him and literally knock on doors and meet people. Let him know where you are in North Carolina. When he's in your area, hang out with him, go knock on doors, ask him some questions, and show some love and hand out some palm cards. It does matter. That's how we're going to win this thing. So if you can help out, check it out. firetheuniparty.com to see if you can help Mike move the needle forward. So with that in mind, I got to ask, Mike, people say it in the comments, it, libertarians don't often win. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to make impact in this election? What's your plan to make some impact in your case here in North Carolina?
Yeah, when I look at most successful political movements that have not been driven by the Uniparty themselves, right? It typically starts at the grassroots. It talks about regular people getting excited, even if the Uniparty is ignoring it, right? And if you get enough people that are texting their friends, hey, check this out, or knocking on doors, telling their friends about it, that's how that movement is created. And I'm actually inspired by your governor campaign. So I've been working through some logistics with my campaign team to visit all 100 counties in the state of North Carolina. So any volunteers, send it up wherever you are. If I have volunteers, if there's, 2 little towns in a county and I've got a bunch of volunteers in yours, I'll probably pick yours, your little town there. But I'm going to travel.
Let me touch that for a second. Hold on. Yeah. I want to touch that piece. That's an important piece to put up. If you're in North Carolina and you want Mike to come to your town, you can reach out to his website and say, hey, I know a guy who runs a shop. I know a woman who's got a hall. I got a buddy who's got a diner, whatever. Someone, one of my friends, she runs a brewery. That all of a sudden now, you now have a space for Mike to go to, right? That's making his life easier. Just picking up and saying, hey, will you take Mike in? He says he's coming in this weekend. Can you hang out and let us hang out at your place at noon on Saturday? Can you do that? And if they say yes and you set that up, you've just helped Mike out.
Yes, immensely.
Yes, that isn't you can do. If you're in North Carolina and you know people who have space who'd be open to have Mike and his people in for a bit, just say that. And if you can make it happen, you're going to help him out tremendously. So I wanted to bring that up to make sure that people understood. It's another way of helping Mike. Please keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no. And when I think about that process, right, of trying to create something grassroots, you can't do it competing with social media ads or TV ads, but there's a lot of things that have kind of been covered, right? I'd love to cover North Carolina in guerrilla sticker campaigns where there's a QR code that's out there that takes people to why that's there, right? When the Super Bowl ad was run, I think it was Coinbase who did it. It was nothing but a floating QR code, and they broke the website because so many people just scanned it. So thinking through little things like that cost less money, but offer that ability to kind of reach further than traditional methods and kind of create that virality that even before the internet existed, things still went viral, right? I have family from across the country that would be excited about the same things that and same, urban legends and just all these things that went viral
Right.
before the internet. So I want to look through that, because I fully expect, as we grow, if this movement grows, I fully expect to see things like censorship and, attacking the traditional tools. It's really hard to stop someone from going to their neighbor's house and having a conversation about why Mike Ross would be a better governor than Josh Stein or Mark Robinson. So that's really the thought process we're putting into the tactics that we're going to use to spend that money as efficiently as we can to really make a dent.
There we go. Well, Joe has advice. He says when he ran, Joe's from Florida. He says, I put QR codes on my campaign yard signs leading to my campaign website, no extra charge. So I think you and Joe are thinking the same way.
We are. Yes, absolutely.
So
great idea. I've already got my design team on that.
There we go. Already thinking about it. I love it. That's amazing. So let me then ask then, do you have another definition of what a win is besides just winning the governorship? Obviously, Mike, I hope you win the governorship. Obviously, I hope you do.
Yes.
If you don't, have you decided on, well, if this happens, that's still a win. If this happens, it's still a win. Have you decided on some definition of a win?
Yeah. I've actually, that was something that I thought of even before joining the race, right? Is if I can't win, how can I bring a win for liberty, right? How can we move the needle in the direction of liberty? So I thought there's a lot of wins along the way, right? Things that we're going to be tracking and keeping track of the metrics of to make sure we're moving in the right direction. But when I think of different ways that it could play out, right? If Robinson decides, because he's kind of taking that students not system, what I would consider school choice light approach, if he modifies his position to something that's closer to my platform, I think that's a win for liberty, right? That's a win for liberty. If he looks at it and says, hey, here we've got these two choices that provide, or two options that might provide a better education environment in the state. If he comes to my position and ends up winning, hey, at least one of my policies maybe gets implemented, right?
I love that.
Same thing with Josh Stein. He likes to talk a lot about criminal justice reform, even though when I had an issue where one of his DAs was abusing power and tried to bring it to his attention, he ignored me last year. But if he comes and takes my platform on how to fix criminal justice reform in a way that, both makes things better for the public, but also for officers, I think that could be a win. So pushing them towards my policies is one way.
Got it.
Another one is growing the party, right?
Okay.
If we want to grow the party and win future elections, we need to bring in inspired people who say, you know what, maybe I'm not going to run for governor like Mike Ross is, but I can get on my city council, right? I could get on, I could run for sheriff. And if we can have, hundreds of great libertarian candidates running in local elections, either in 2024, so I can talk about them while I'm campaigning, or 2025, the following year, that's a win. Right. Even if I don't win the governor's office, if we get a libertarian sheriff who, or a libertarian city council that makes those local changes, that's a win. And of course, just continuing to build the movement, opening people's eyes to the reality of the UniParty and how, even though.
Yeah, but you really did you said two things specifically, which I like.
Yeah.
The first one was, if you see an actual policy change, that's a great, because that's clear, right? When you're done, did the policy change? Oh, it did. That's a win.
Yes.
Or do you see a massive increase in libertarian candidates? You see that? That's a win. I love those two. They're crystal clear. You go, okay, did it work? It didn't. Man, okay, we got to do better next time. Oh, no. There it is. There was a change or more candidates. We won. I love it. I think that's great.
Yeah, and then a whole bunch of little wins all along the way. But the biggest thing is every person that opens their eyes to the ideas of liberty and just puts that little bit of thought into, is this system working for us? And if not, are either of these two parties really presenting something that I think has a chance of working? And if the answer to that they come to with all that thought is no, and then they look at what a platform could be that would actually bring that about, I think that can inspire future people, right? I kind of came out of, coming into the libertarian circle out of the Ron Paul revolution, right? And to see Ron Paul inspire so many people, I think that's what we need more of, but we need to keep it going election after election and never let that die. So if I can start a fire the UniParty movement in North Carolina, if other states see that it's working, any other governor candidates, when this is all said and done, feel free to take the messaging, take the branding, because I do think it would work, anywhere that Republicans and Democrats are working together to harm their citizens, which is sadly probably everywhere.
It's probably every state. Yeah, I'm gonna go with every state on that one. But yes, maybe there's one I'm missing, but I'm gonna probably go with every state. So that I feel like you're telling me that you're actually pretty optimistic about the future. Tell me, what you think is the future, either for you or for because they're Pennsylvania. Sorry, North Carolina. I was going to go to Pennsylvania. North Carolina. What do you see is a future for either you or North Carolina?
I'm pretty happy with myself. This is really about the rest of North Carolina, right? I'm blessed to have a home, a family, all of that. But I'm really worried about the future because we're getting closer and closer to real big problems at the federal level.
Yes.
And I truly think that the idea of nullification and decentralization and states willing to push back when the government is overreaching and stepping on constitutional rights, with this uniparty system, the federal government tends to overreach. And there hasn't been a single governor that really pushes back and just says, absolutely not. I would be that governor if they elect me to do that and truly kind of push back at some of that. But that's kind of secondary to the main goal of making sure that the state government of North Carolina is not doing those things and bringing about real change for North Carolinians. But once we get that done, I've got the rest of the term to be an advocate for federal overreach from the governor's office. So that's kind of the route I'm going. Is if we can inspire people, that's a win. If we can get policy change, that's a win. If we can get more, more people, volunteers, candidates, that's a win. There's a lot of wins that are potentially on the table.
So if you're liking what Mike is saying here, if you're hearing or if you're watching now, either one, you can head over to his website, firetheuniparty.com, and see what he's doing. If you've got some cash you can give, please give it if you can. If you can go monthly, it's always good. $5, $10, $20 monthly always makes it better because he's got his elections in 2024. He's starting that early. So you doing $5, $10 a month, that's going to add up. That's going to be some signs. That's going to be some Facebook ads. It's going to be some palm cards. That's going to be some stuff for him. And if a couple people do it, now we're talking some real impact. So if you can do it, it's great. If not, again, volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. Whatever you can do to volunteer, please do that. Either of those will count. And I did get a response from Patty. Patty says, a friend is going to check this show out and we'll probably be calling or contacting him. Well, there we go.
Fantastic. So, thank you so much, Patty.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to say to everyone who was watching, thank you so much for giving me a half hour of your time watching. I hope you go check out Mike at firetheuniparty.com. Mike, thank you for giving me a chunk of your time when you're out there working and campaigning and doing all the crazy stuff that you have to do also. I appreciate your time also.
Thank you so much, Larry. I really appreciate you having me on.
Of course, guys. Thank you so much. I will see you all